Hey guys, Carl from Purple Misplace. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the new Works of Wonder expansion for the worker placement game Architects of the West Kingdom, the first in the West Kingdom trilogy of games from publisher Garphill Games and designers Shem Phillips and Sam McDonald. This one's actually a special one for me because in addition to adding new mechanisms to the base game, this one is actually also bringing along a brand new solo AI for Architects of the West Kingdom, and that's what got me especially excited about this game. I should mention here that I did get a copy of the expansion as a review copy from the publisher, but the base game is my own personal copy, and I will do my best as always to give you my own personal thoughts and feelings on the game. With that being said, let's head down to the table to see how the new solo mode plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think of the game. To set up a solo game of Architects of the West Kingdom with the Works of Wonder expansion, begin by placing out the main game board, and then adding on this board extension from the Works of Wonder expansion. Next, we'll take the black market cards with the small market side face up, give them a shuffle, and place them in the black market down here. Then we will take all of the reward cards, give them a shuffle, and place them at the top of the board by the cathedral. Next, we will take the debt cards with the -2 point debt side face up. And you're supposed to place that off to the side somewhere, but I like to place it over here because it's connected to this space anyway, and it saves some room on my table. Next, we're going to take all of the apprentice cards. I will say that I have the apprentice cards from the expansion in here, but you may also see some of the cards will have this star symbol showing up. Those are some promo cards that I also happen to have mixed in here as well. We're going to give those a shuffle, place the deck down here in the bottom right corner, and then fill all of these spaces with cards. Then we're going to take the building cards. Same thing, I've got the base game and the expansion building cards, but again, you will see some promo cards mixed in here as well. I'll give them all a nice shuffle and place them down here at the bottom of the board. And then finally, to finish the main board setup, we're going to place 4 coins right here in the tack stand. Next, to continue setup, we're going to choose our player for the game. For this playthrough, I've decided for obvious reasons to go with purple, and I will be using the new purple character from the expansion, Zeshiro. I will explain how all of this works later on, but for right now, I want to show you here his special ability. Anytime I do any kind of build action, either cathedral or building, I will score 1 influence on the new influence track over here. Again, I will explain all of that shortly. In addition, even if Zeshiro is up here in the high area of the track, I will still be able to use that black market area. And again, I'll explain all of that when we get into gameplay. And then we also need to choose an AI character. In the new expansion Works of Wonder, we actually get 6 new AI characters. For this playthrough, I'm going to choose to use the Enforcer. And again, we'll explain how all of this works later, but you can see up here, this is the sort of special action for this character. And also they get an ability down here that says, anytime that they send people to the jail or the guardhouse, they're going to receive 1 marble. So I'll have to remember to do that. Sometimes I forget. That's the one thing that I forget most often, but we'll see when we get in. I'll do my best to remember that that is their special ability. So I'll place that down here. And then we'll continue setting up the AI. The AI comes with 2 decks of cards, brown and black. The brown cards are the starting cards for the AI, and the black cards are the sort of upgrade cards that they'll earn throughout the game. So we're going to shuffle both. We're going to set this one aside. I'll just turn it horizontally there. I'm going to give this one a good shuffle. I've already shuffled them both, but I'll shuffle again. And this is going to be their starting deck, which I'll place right here. We then need to place out the pieces for both ourselves and the AI. So we will both get 20 meeples of our color. And then we will place out our marker pieces on the tracks based on what it shows on our player boards. So for my character, I will be placing my marker at 10 on the virtue track, 1 on the influence track, and then the third marker simply gets placed at the bottom of the cathedral. For the AI, they will be placing their virtue at 8, influence at 2, and then again at the bottom of the cathedral track. Now there are still a few steps to set up the new expansion, but before we continue setting up the new expansion, we first get to choose one of the apprentice cards as a free starting card. And I'll explain more about how this works when we get further into the gameplay. But every apprentice card is going to have some kind of special ability at the bottom of the card. For example, this card, when I play a piece at the King's Storehouse, I can spend 2 coins to get 1 piece of gold. It's also worth mentioning while we're here actually that in these apprentice cards there are 3 different types of symbol up here in the top left corner, and you'll see in a minute we are going to need specific symbols to build some of the buildings in the game. So that's going to be important as well when we think about what we're taking now. The final thing that's important to look at on these cards, at least for right now at this moment, is down here in the bottom right corner. Anytime you see this little lightning bolt symbol, it means whatever it shows there is triggered immediately upon taking one of these cards, including right now during this draft. So if I took this card, I would instantly lose 1 virtue on the virtue track. Also, before we continue, I should mention one more thing that I did forget. There is more setup for my player that's on the board here. The top one shows me how many meeples start captured in the guardhouse. For my character, it's 0, so I don't have to do anything about that. But I do here start with 2 coins. So I will take 2 coins. And I start here with 2 stone. So I need to get 2 stone as well. That's going to be important because that's also going to help me choose or start focusing on which apprentices to draft right now, because I want to make sure I pick an apprentice that's going to sort of go with whatever strategy I'm planning for. And I know that my character is going to be getting influence for building things, so I will be building things. And you'll see as I get into the game that when we go to the workshop, which is how we normally recruit these apprentice cards, we're going to have to be able to push further to the right. So the cards to the right are going to be harder to get. So drafting from there right now is probably not a bad idea. And I think what I'm going to do, because she's going to help with my building moving forward, is I'm going to take the financier. And what that's going to let me do is that later on, when I place a meeple at the King's Storehouse, I can trade 1 marble for 1 stone, 1 wood, 1 brick, and 1 coin, which is going to help me get resources to build buildings. But you'll see in a minute when we put out the Works of Wonder cards, that's also going to help me be able to get those Works of Wonders built. So I like that card a lot. I'm going to start with that card. Now you'll see I don't have a whole ton of space on camera, so we will sort of slide things around to make things fit as needed through the playthrough. So we're going to slide this card over to fill in that hole and draft, or sorry, replace with 1 more card. And already I see this acolyte looks cool because when I build a cathedral, I get 2 coins. And thinking about that, if I have this card with 3 coins gets me a marble, this coin that gets me 2 every time I build, and a marble lets me trade for 1 of everything, that could be a really nice combination to have. So I'm going to look at those cards moving forward, but let's continue with the setup. Now that we've done that, I'm going to take 5 of these building cards, and we get to keep 3 of them, and we'll return 2 to the bottom of the deck. So looking at the building cards, we want to look at a couple of different things. First, these here are the resources I will need to build this building. So in this case, 1 brick, 3 wood, and 1 stone. Again, anything with a lightning bolt happens as soon as you place it. So in this case, I would get that, plus I would instantly trigger 1 coin for everybody that I'm turning in to the guardhouse. So that would mean I'd need to have some captured meeples first to put in there. And again, you don't know what this really means yet unless you've played the base game already. So let me just go through these quick, and I'll pick the ones that I think are good for me, and I'll explain how they work as we get into the game. The other thing that's worth mentioning is here in the top right corner is the number of points that that given building will be worth at the end of the game. And anything you see with a flag is something that's going to trigger at the end of the game. So in this case, this card would give me 1 virtue on the virtue track for every 2 buildings that I've built that game. So let me have a quick look, and then I'll tell you which cards I've decided to keep. All right, so the 3 buildings that I've chosen to keep at the start is that one that I showed you before. It's going to get me 4 points and get me 1 virtue for every 2 buildings I've built at the end, remembering that my character should be focusing on buildings, so that's going to be nice to have. This building here, the depot, it's going to be giving me 7 points if I build it And instantly when I build it, I get to place one meeple in the king's storehouse and instantly take that action as if I'd played there on my turn. So it's basically going to get me one free placement at the king's storehouse. And we already saw I have one apprentice and might get more that are doing special things at the king's storehouse, so that would be nice to have. And the last one I decided to keep here is the tavern. The tavern is simply going to give me one free apprentice card when I build it. It's worth mentioning that the tavern and the depot, you can see here in the top corner, there's a little axe symbol. So again, I need to have an apprentice with an axe, and right now we only have a hammer. So we need to start looking at some of the other cards because I will need to pick up an axe if I plan on building those buildings later in the game. And I'm just going to set those off to the side here. We'll look at them throughout the game when needed, and I'll build things over here as they get built. So now we need to finish setting up the rest of the Works of Wonder expansion. And first we're going to do that by laying out the 5 Works of Wonder buildings. So first we'll place the cards out for each of those wonders. And then each of the wonders also gets a wooden figure that goes with it. And then finally, to finish setup, we're going to place out these contribution and consequence cards. I'm going to give those a shuffle. They get placed up here at the top of the board, and the first one will be flipped over and placed right here. And then based on the locations that show up on this card, we're going to place the Profiteer and the Princess Meeples out on the board. So the Profiteer is going to be placed at the guardhouse right here, and the Princess will be placed at the Silversmith. So Architects of the West Kingdom with the Works of Wonder expansion is going to be played out over a series of rounds, taking turns with myself going first, followed by the AI back and forth, until we have finished these first 3 columns of the guild hall over here, having one meeple placed in each of those locations. As soon as the last meeple is placed in that location, it's going to trigger the end of the game. And as soon as the end of the game is triggered, we will each take one more turn and the game will end. At the end of the game, whoever has the most points will be the winner. Points are scored by buildings that you've built, wonders that you've built, your place on the virtue track. 1 point will be scored for each marble or gold that you have. For each 10 coins that you have, you will also score 1 point. You also score points based on the location in the cathedral track that you've built to. You will lose 2 points for every debt that you still owe at the end of the game. In addition, whoever is highest on the influence track will receive 4 gold, and again, gold counts as 1 point each, so that's basically getting 4 points, unless you have some other card that does something special at the end of the game for gold. So on each of our turns, we're going to take turns by placing meeples out at the locations on the board. Of course, my choices will be decided by myself, and the AI's choices will all be decided by their scheme deck, or basically their sort of brain of their thinking in the game. I'm going to do my best to explain sort of a broad overview of how the base game works and what the expansion content adds to the game, but there's probably some details that are better shown while I'm playing the game, so I'm not going to explain in extreme detail, but I will go over all of the different locations on the board, what the Profiteer and the Princess do, and what these Works of Wonders are over here on the right side. And we're going to start by saying that any location that has a large circle, like most of these locations on the board, can hold any number of meeples. And basically when we place on a location, most of these locations are going to trigger their action depending on the number of meeples of our color that we have at that location at that time. So for example, the first 2 most simple spaces are the forest and the quarry, which are 2 main resource locations that just say, at the forest, I will get 1 piece of wood per meeple. At the quarry, I will get 1 piece of stone per meeple. The mines works the same way, except that at the mines, I will either choose to take 1 brick plus 1 more brick per meeple that I have there, or I will choose 1 piece of gold for every 2 meeples that I have at that location. The silversmith is similar, except I'm getting money there, so I will get 1 coin plus 1 coin for every meeple that I have at that location. So those 4 locations are going to be our main resource gathering locations for brick, gold, stone, wood, and money. The workshop is where I'm going to get new cards to either add as apprentices or buildings that I can later build in a future turn. And the way that's going to work is we're going to place in this location. We can either choose to take apprentice cards or building cards. I'm going to start by explaining the building cards. They're easiest. We simply take one building card plus an additional building card for every 2 meeples we have at that location. For the apprentices, you can see here on the board there are 4 coins. We're going to pay 4 coins, but anytime we see coins that are this more orangish color, that means we're paying those coins into the tax stand. So in this case, I would pay 2 coins to the tax stand and 2 coins to the supply, and I can recruit either of these 2 cards. Or let me restate that. I can choose any card up to the column number equal to the number of meeples that I have there. So if I have 2 meeples, I can choose from the first 2 columns. 3 meeples, the first 3 columns, and so on. However, I can also place a coin on each card past where I'm going, meaning if I can choose 1, I could place 1 coin here and take the next card. So if I had 2 meeples there, which covers the first 2 columns, I could then place a coin on that second column to take the third column, or second and third to take the fourth, and so on. So we can use coins to get sort of further reach in these apprentice cards without having to place a ton of meeples in that location. At the King's Storehouse, we can take 1 action per meeple that's placed here of these 2, plus any that are special on the cards. So the 2 on the board are I can spend 2 of any stone, wood, or brick to get 1 virtue on the virtue track. Or I can spend 3 stone or wood to get 1 marble. And this is the only way I'm going to get marble normally without having a special card or using the black market. And I'll explain the black market in just a minute. The tax stand is very simple. If I place on the tax stand, I will instantly lose 2 virtue on the virtue track, but I will take all of the money that is at the tax stand at that time. The black market, you can see the circles are smaller, which means only 1 meeple can ever be placed there. And what's going to happen is you're going to pay whatever it shows there. It means 1, 2, or 3 coins to the supply, and then lose 1 virtue to either take the 2 resources here if you placed at this spot, take any of the apprentices showing, or take 5 building cards and choose 1 by placing here in the center, or take all 4 resources here if you've placed in this third location. As soon as all 3 of these locations have been filled, we're going to trigger the black market reset. And I'll explain that in a minute because there are a few other ways that that can be triggered, and I only want to explain that to you 1 time. The guild hall up here is how we build things. To build, you're going to simply place 1 of your meeples in the guild hall covering 1 of these spots, and then you can choose to either build a card from your hand or move up 1 space on the cathedral track. I showed you already that to build a card from your hand, you need to have an apprentice that has one of the matching symbols of the card that you're hoping to build, or in the case that there isn't one, you can simply build the card, and then you're going to pay the resources shown and just play the card as built. To build the cathedral, you need to discard 1 of your building cards to the bottom of the building deck and spend whatever resources are shown here. So for example, 1 gold, a mix of any 4 stone and wood, 1 marble, and so on, to move up to the next spot on the cathedral track. You will see at the top there is only 1 space, so only 1 player can ever reach the top space. In addition, every time you move up 1 space on the cathedral track, you will also take 1 of these reward cards, which will always give you a virtue and then also some other kind of reward. You'll notice here on these bottom 2 spaces of the guild hall, the leftmost ones, there's also a black market reset that will be triggered from that. But it's worth mentioning that we always fill from left to right, top to bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the 7th and 10th building or cathedral space that are built will trigger a black market reset. The last 2 spaces are the spaces that tie into sort of this idea of capture mechanic that's in this game. First at the town center, if I place a meeple there, the first meeple I place there, I will spend 1 coin to the tax stand, and I can capture all of the meeples of a single color from any location on the board, aside from the guild hall or the black market. Those meeples will always stay there permanently until either the end of the game for the guild hall or until a black market reset for the black market. But otherwise, I can choose any location on the board and capture all of the meeples of 1 color for that meeple that I placed there. For every additional meeple that I have there, I can spend an additional coin to the supply and capture all of one color from any other location on the board. It's also worth mentioning that we can capture our own pieces as well just to get them back into our supply to be usable in future rounds. But when we capture somebody from the other team or the other players, they're going to go here in our captured area on our player board. And then later, the last space we can go up here is the guardhouse. And the guardhouse, when I go there, I'm allowed to choose one action per meeple that I have there. The first action allows me to move all of the captured pieces I have into the guardhouse or into the jail, getting 1 coin per transferred meeple that I've placed in there from the supply. The next thing I can do is take all of my personal meeples out of the jail. The next one, if, for example, the AI has some of my meeples captured on their board, I can spend 2 coins to the tax stand and 3 to the supply, or I can take a debt and lose 1 virtue to remove or return all of my meeples back from the AI's player board. And finally, the last option I have is 3 coins to tax and 3 to supply to flip over 1 debt card that I already have. And you will see, like I said, the debt cards are minus 2 points at the end of the game, but if you manage to flip them over and pay off your debt, you will get an instant increase in virtue when you do that. And also, of course, you then don't lose those 2 points at the end of the game. So those are the main rules or the main structure of the original base game. Works of Wonder is going to add sort of 2-3 things to the game. The first thing it's going to add is these 5 wonders. And each of these wonders is going to function essentially just like a regular building. However, it does a few fun things to the game. Number 1, every time you build one of these, you will instantly get 2 virtue. Then, instead of spending resources to build this building, you need to spend a number of resources equal to what it shows here. So in this case, 15 bricks. But you also need to spend influence. In this case, you'd have to spend 7 influence by moving down on the influence track, and then 5 coins to the tax stand. Now, this number 15 bricks is going to be decreasing as we play, because I'll show you something in a minute. We're going to be making contributions every round, and every time a black market reset happens, our contributions will move to these cards. So these costs will slowly decrease throughout the game as well until the buildings are built. Then, once that building is built, I'm going to get to place it on any of the locations on the board. And from that point on, anytime I place a meeple on that location, I can either count it as if I have an extra meeple at that location, or I can instantly go up by 1 on the influence track. And again, the influence track is going to help me buy these or build these wonders, but also at certain locations on the track, when I move up, for example, from 4 to 5, I will instantly draft 1 building card, but also at any point during the game, I can spend 2 influence to either not lose 1 virtue or spend 2 less coins to do something, or I can lose 4 virtue to either not have to spend 1 gold or 1 marble to do something on the board as well. The only thing that these special bonuses cannot be used for is making contributions, and I will explain that next. On the board, we've got the princess and the profiteer meeples out at locations. Whenever I place a meeple at a location with the princess, in addition to taking the action there, I will also trigger the princess's contribution action. To do that, I can place a resource on an uncovered resource spot on this card. What I place will trigger whatever it shows below it. So for a brick, a wood, or a stone, I get 2 influence on the track. A gold will also get me 1 virtue, and a marble would also get me 1 reward card. And I mentioned that when the black market triggers, everything that we've placed on here will be placed onto the wonders, so their total cost will be decreasing. And again, we cannot use an influence to place a gold or influence to place a marble. We'd have to physically place one on that card. In addition, we've got the profiteer. Every time we place on the profiteer's location, we instantly go up 1 on the influence track. Now, in addition to that, there's going to be something special that happens, and that's what's going to happen when a black market reset is triggered. So let me walk through, finally, what a black market reset is going to do. When we trigger a black market reset by having all 3 black market spaces filled, or by placing a meeple at one of those 2 locations, all of the meeples that are placed at the black market spaces will be sent to jail. We're going to turn over this top card here, changing what's available at both of those two markets. We're going to resolve any street urchin or aristocrat apprentice cards that are out in our play area. And then we're going to take a look at this consequence card. All players who have meeples at the location where the profiteer is will do whatever it shows here. So in this case, they will place their meeples from that location where the profiteer is into the guardhouse. And then the player with the most workers, or players in the case of a tie, at the location with the princess meeple will get whatever it shows here. So in this case, it would be 2 virtue instantly added on the track. We would then turn over the next card here, moving the princess and the profiteer to the new locations. Trigger any other apprentices that have black market reset abilities. And then all players that have at least 3 meeples in the prison will lose 1 virtue, and the player with the most meeples in the prison at that time will take 1 debt. So those are sort of all of the rules of the game. I know that's a lot to go into. We'll see how it plays as we get in. The only other thing we need to talk about is how the AI works, but I will sort of do that as we play through the first turn of the AI. But there is one thing I realized I forgot to do. The AI does have this marker as well that's going to go down here on its sort of resource marking track, and I'll explain again how all of that works as the AI takes its first turn. So let's go ahead and get into the game. I did say at the beginning of the game that I would like to come down here and potentially get this acolyte that's going to start getting me coins for cathedral, and this merchant that's going to get me coin, or let me trade in coins for marble at the storehouse. But right now I only have 2 coins and I need 4 to take that action. So I'm going to start by going to by going to the silversmith, and I get 1 coin per meeple plus 1, so I'll take 2 coins. And now it's the AI's turn. The AI on their turn is going to turn over the top card in their deck, and they're going to do 2 things. There's always going to be 2 sections on their card. Well, for the most part, there will be. The top left corner is going to be a condition that needs to be true to take this top action, and if not, then we'll take the bottom action. So in this case, this says if they have the majority at the space with the princess, which currently they do not, so they will not take that action. They're instead going to the bottom action here, which says they're going to place where the princess is, and they're going to do the contribution action. So we're going to place here with the princess, which is the silversmith, but in this case they didn't take the silversmith action, so they're not taking any coins. They're simply going to place on the board for contributing to the princess, and we're going to look at this resource marker track here. That's currently on brick, so they're going to be placing brick. In this case, they don't have a supply. The only thing that they will ever have in their supply is marble. So they will simply take a brick from the supply, add it to the contribution track, and they get to add 2 influence for doing so. All right, then my turn. I do have enough coins to get this one. I'm afraid that they might erase that card if they take the workshop action, because the way their workshop action works is each of these spaces represents a column here. So right now they're in the first space, the first column. They would kill these 2 cards if they take a workshop action, and I want that card. So I'm going to come here, put 2 coins into the tax stand, put 2 coins over here into supply, and I will take the merchant. And these all slide over, and we add a new card. Remembering, I think I might be aiming for that acolyte as well, but I also want to take a look for an axe card so that I can build those buildings looking forward. AI takes their turn. This one says if they have 4, or if there are 4 of my meeples on any location, they're going to take this. There are not currently. I have 1 and 1. So they're going to take their special action. And in this case, the special action of this AI is they're going to go to the town center, but they're not going to do what the town center says right away. First, they're going to try to move any captured meeples they have to the guardhouse, but they can't because they don't have any. So then they will take the normal town center action, or in this case, just this action. It says play 1 to tax, capture my workers, again, single color, single location for every 1 meeple that they have there. They have one, so they'll capture from one location, so either silversmith or workshop. In the case there's a tie, we use the tiebreaker at the bottom here, so most workers sliding across. The first place that I see is silversmith before workshop, so they're going to take that one and capture it. My turn. Money is important, but I want to start working towards building cathedrals and building buildings because that's what I'm good at and that's what I get influence for. So that's what I want to aim for. Looking at my buildings, I can't build the two with the axe, so the only one I can build right now is this museum. And I need a brick, 5 wood, and a stone. I also need a gold if I'm going to start going up the cathedral. And I can get bricks and gold from the same place, so I'm going to start by going there, which gets me 1 brick plus 1 more for my meeple. AI takes their turn, which says if there are 3 of mine at a location, they'll take this. There are not. They're going to the silversmith, which means they just go there, and same as I do, they get a coin plus 1 per meeple. So they're going to get 3 coins. But the AI never gets coins. If the AI is going to collect coins, they will simply move this resource marker a number of spaces equal to the number of coins they would be getting. So 1, 2, 3, and that's their turn. I do want that gold for the cathedral up there. I'm going to place there to take 1 gold because I get gold for every 2 meeples. AI goes. This says if they have any number of captured meeples, they do. Just 1, but it's enough. They're going to take that action and they're going to go to the guardhouse. Now first we can see because they've placed where the profiteer is, they're going to get 1 influence. And now because they crossed that green plus, they don't take building cards. They're instead going to add one of their higher level scheme cards into their discard pile. And they're going to continue by taking the action following the priority here, which says if there's any of their own here, they will release them. There aren't. If they have any captured, they will put them in at 1 coin per piece. That's just 1, so we move the resource up 1. My turn. I'd like to build on the cathedral track, but I need to get rid of a building to do so. Yeah, you know what? I don't really care too much about this tavern that's going to get me a free card because it's going to take a lot of resources just to get that. Sure, it's worth 6 points at the end, but right now, I don't really need that card. So I am going to start and place out 1 here in the guild hall, discarding that card, spending my 1 gold to move up 1 here on the cathedral track, and I get my first reward card, which is a virtue and 1 free capture action. So I'm going to take my virtue, and I'm going to capture. Yeah, I might as well do the silversmith because, remember, the princess gets you special stuff when black market is triggered, and because it gets me 2 to capture. AI takes their turn. This is no choice here. This one says the AI goes to the workshop. The first thing they do is discard 2 cards of apprentices. They're going from the 5th slot, so these 2 apprentices are getting trashed. Then we will add 2 coins to the tax stand, which is looking really pretty now. And then they're going to take 1 building plus 1 building for every 2 that they have. They don't have 2, so they're only taking 1. Remember, they don't get buildings. They're simply going to add a new card to their scheme deck. And that is the end of their turn. Now, I really like that tax stand, and I know they have a card that says if there's more than 4 there, they're going to take it, and I don't want them to do that. There's another card in the advanced deck that says more than 8, they will take it. That's looking really nice. I have a lot of virtue, so I'm going to go there, lose 2 virtue, and take all of those coins. All right, their turn. All right, here it says if I have 3 or more at a location, they'll do that. I don't. I only have 2 up there. So they're going to go to the king's storehouse and simply get 1 virtue per person there, which is just 1. So they get 1 virtue. All right, for this building that I'm looking to build, I want to start building lots of stuff, so I do need to start collecting more buildings, which will happen moving forward. But I also need to start getting these resources. So I have a brick. I want to start getting some wood. Let's start placing lots of people out in the forest. Right now I only get one piece of wood because I placed one meeple there, but that's a start. AI takes their turn. This says if they have at least 2 of their workers at the guardhouse, they will do that. They do not. So they're going to go to the black market. They're going to prioritize the rightmost spot, losing a virtue and gaining 2 marble. So they lose 1 virtue and gain 2 marble. All right, so focusing back on what I need to do next. I've got a ton of money. I need some more building cards, not just because I'm going to be getting virtue for buildings at the end, but also anytime I want to build on the cathedral track, I'm going to need to discard more buildings. So I might as well do that now. Because remember, we saw a lot of cards in here that are going to trigger when I have 3 or 4 in a location. So let me start getting 2s before I get 3s and 4s. I'm going to come back to the workshop area. And now because I have 2 meeples, I get 1 card plus the regular 1 card. So I'm going to get 2 new buildings. One that requires all symbols and gets a ton of resources to get me 2 points when I have 0 debt at the end of the game, which is kind of somewhat likely because I'm going to hopefully be pushing for lots of high virtue, but we'll see. That's not a bad one to keep to use. And then this one here, the library uses an axe and a paintbrush, and is going to require 4 wood, 2 stone, and 1 marble, which is going to let me discard instantly 1 building to get 2 gold. Now, I don't really want to discard another building when I build this building, so I probably will end up using this for the cathedral rather than building it as itself. But in any case, I still don't have an axe, so that's something else we need to pay attention to moving forward. I'll put those there. AI takes their turn. If there's 4 plus coins at the tax stand, they'll take that. There is not. So they're just going to place in the guardhouse and take 1 action per meeple there, which they don't have anybody captured there to return. They don't have anybody captured here to place there. They don't have any debts to get rid of or to flip. So they're just going to add 1 card to their scheme deck for each person there. So that's just 1 and 2. My turn. I might start getting some more cards because I got a lot of people here. Got a lot of money to spend. I wouldn't mind getting more buildings moving forward either. Now, I don't think I'm going to the black market very often, so I don't know that I need the Swindler or the Illusionist. I just realized I never placed out new cards here. I still want this Acolyte, but I only have 2 there, and if I place 1 more, that's 3. Yeah, but it's going to be a while before they get back to the area that kills that card, so I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to I'm going to place there and take this Abbot. So I have to place 2 coins in the tax stand and 2 in supply. And basically, I'm just getting him for that axe. But also, anytime I go to the King's Storehouse, which is nice because I'm going to start doing that soon with these 2, I get to start taking more buildings. So that's going to be actually really nice to have. So let's place that there. And the AI goes again. AI says if there's 4 in a location, they will take that. I only have 3 at most. So they're going to the King's Storehouse. And they get 1 virtue per meeple there, which is 2. 1, 2. My turn. These slide over. This flips over. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go back for that Acolyte again before he goes away. So I'm going to go there again. 2 coins to tax, 2 to supply, take the Acolyte, and now anytime I build a cathedral, I will get 2 coins. Now it's worth mentioning I can only ever have 5 apprentices, and we're already at 4. So we can only ever have 1 more, but we can always discard 1 to take another one if necessary. All right, AI goes again. All right, this is a special card. This says they're going to the guild hall, which is how they build things. First, they're going to try and build a wonder. And the way that an AI builds wonders is they're going to spend influence and marble together to pay for whatever the cost of the guild hall is. But the way that they need to do that is they're going to need to be able to spend influence equal to whatever the influence on the card is, and the rest of the total, whatever that number in the top corner is, will be paid using marble. But the wonder that they choose is going to be based on their resource location. So right now they'd be aiming for the marble location, which says they need to spend 3 influence, which means they'd need to have, sorry, that was a mistake. They're not aiming for the top left corner number. They're aiming to hit 10. So they'd need to have 3 influence and 7 marble. They only have 2, so they can't build that right now. In fact, they only have 5 influence, so 5 plus 2 right now is 7, so they can't build one at all. But if they did, they would spend influence equal to the influence and pay the remainder up to 10 with marble. And then whatever the coin cost is there would come from the supply into the tax stand to pay the taxes. But since they're not going to do that, they're instead just going to take the cathedral action, which means they're simply going to move up 1 space on the cathedral track, of course placing one of their meeples in the guild hall to do so. And for doing so, they simply get 1 virtue on the virtue track. All right, it's my turn. My next step on the cathedral is 4 wood and stone. I only have 2 stone and 1 wood, so I can't do that anyway. The building I'm looking to build is 1 brick, 5 wood, and 1 stone. So I need a bunch more wood. So I'm just going to start pumping people into the forest and hope they don't take my meeples away. So I get 2 wood for that. AI's next turn. This one says, if they have less than 5 influence, sorry, less than or equal to 5, and they're at 5, so they do, they're going to place at the princess space and do the contribution action. So they will place here at the silversmith, and they're just done to contribute. They have marble here, and marble again for any contribution action comes from the supply. They only spend their own marble on wonders. So they will place that. They get to move up twice on this track, and they're going to get a reward card, but the AI never claims reward cards. Instead, for the reward card, they're going to get a virtue bump. Now I did just realize I did already forget their bonus action. When they placed my meeple into the guardhouse, they should have gotten 1 marble. So they do actually have 3 marble right now. All right, and again, my turn again. I'm just pumping people into forest. I get 3 more wood. And the AI's turn is done. They're going to shuffle their deck first and take their turn as normal. And they turn over. They're going back to the guild hall. Now they've got 7 influence and 3 marble, so they could potentially build something. They're supposed to be building the marble one, but they're going to wrap around, and the next one they would build would be brick. Remember, I need 10. This says 7 influence on the card. They have 7 influence. So they're going to spend all 7 influence and these 3 marble to hit 10, and they will claim that card. Means they're going to instantly get 2 virtue, which pushes them up here to the top of the track. I'm going to set that off to the side for their building. And they're going to place this out on the board. Now, the way that that works is at the bottom of their board here, you can see a range of numbers. They're going to start with number 1, which says here is guardhouse. So they're placing this here at the guardhouse. So from now on, anytime they place there, they will have 1 additional worker towards whatever it is that they're doing at that location. But I'm going to do, hold on, how much wood do I need? I need 5 for this, and potentially 4 for this, and then whatever else I need moving forward. So 9 would be nice to have. I currently have 6. Yes, I'm going to place out 1 more there, and we'll take 4 wood. AI takes their turn. Now, again, if there's at least 4 people of mine in a location, there are in the forest and workshop, they're going to town center. They're going to put 1 coin in the tax stand, and then they're going to capture 1 group of workers per person in there. So they're going to get 2. So they're going to take all of those from the forest and all of those from the workshop. That's not great, but I did get all the wood that I needed ahead of time. So that is pretty nice. I also just realized that when I placed the second meeple of theirs here, I didn't give them the 1 influence for the profiteer. And the reason I just realized that is because my turn, I am going, hold on, I don't have any money and I don't really want a debt right now. I want to get these guys back before they use them. But I don't really want to do that yet. All right, hold on. I'm actually going to go to the guild hall just because. I want to go up on the cathedral because I know when I go up on the cathedral, I'm going to get 2 coins from my acolyte. And then I need to spend, let's just do straight 4 wood because I think I need the stone for my building as well. So that goes up 1 level. I need to get rid of a card. And I'm going to get rid of that card that I have to discard a building to get 2 gold because I don't think I'll ever build that one. And I get a reward, which gets me 1 influence and 1 virtue. So we'll go up there on 1, and we'll go up over here by 1. I will start making some money next because I would like to go to the guardhouse, but let's see what happens next. If there's 4+ in a tax stand, there is. They will clear that, which is a little sad because I was kind of hoping to go there next. But that gets them 2 negative virtue. Now it's my turn. Yeah, I need some money. So I think I'm just going to spam the silversmith for a little while. That gets me a coin, +1 for the meeple is 2. AI takes their turn. Now this says if they can build a wonder, they will go to the guild hall. They have no marble and only 1 influence, so they will not build a wonder. So they're going to black market. They're prioritizing, again, 3rd space, but there's there already. So 2nd space gets them -1 virtue, 1 marble, and 2 coins. So again, they placed there. Virtue goes down 1. They get 1 marble. And they get 2 coins, which means this wraps to the next side, which means they pick up a marble and then their 2nd coin. All right, I need money. So I'm going back to the silversmith again to get 3 coins. Now we're looking a little bit better. Let's hope they don't go to the guardhouse yet. All right, they're placing in the guild hall if they can build a wonder. They still can't build a wonder, so they're going to go to the princess's location. They placed there at the princess, which this time says they're going to contribute and get 1 influence. So they're trying to contribute wood, which they can because it's still empty, which gets them 2 influence, and then plus they get 1 influence for their action. My turn, I'm good with money for right now. I want my people back because I don't want them to get stuff for it. So I'm going to go there. I only get 1 action because I have 1 meeple. I'm going to spend 2 to tax and 3 to the supply to recover all of my meeples from them. Now they take their turn. Less than or equal to 5 influence. Yes, they only have 4. So they're going to princess again. And they're trying to contribute wood again, which they can't because it's full. But the next in order is stone. Contributing 2 stone, going up twice on the influence track, passing the green card so they get 1 more card added to their deck. Now my turn. I'd love to get a marble to go up the cathedral. I have enough right now to build the museum, which is also worth doing. Yes, I need more money to start really working the king's storehouse well. I could start capturing more of their workers. Yeah, why not? Let's do that. No, let me let them play 1 more time and see what else I can do. No, I want to play some of their stuff there because I don't want my guy to be super heavy. I don't want to be the one getting the debt when black market triggers, and it's happening soon. So I'm going to town center. I'm going to pay 1 coin to tax, and I'm going to capture these 3 of their workers. Next they take their turn. If there's more than 4 of mine in a location, there's not. So they're going to take their printed action, which says go to town center. Trade in their guys. They can't, so they're going to pay 1 coin just 1 coin to tax, and then capture 3 locations of mine. So that means these 2, and 1 more location, which is either tax stand, guardhouse, or town center. Following here, it looks like town center is also getting captured, which is fine to me because, no, it's not. I was going to go there and get rid of my stuff from here, but I don't have the money to do that. But let's do this. I'm going there. My first action is trading in these 5 to the guardhouse. So I'm going to take 5 coins for doing that. Now I could pay to release all of them using those 5 coins, but I'd like to keep that money, and I don't really want a debt right now. So I'm just going to simply take my second action is to recover that 1. They take their turn, going to the guild hall if they can build a wonder or a cathedral. Wonder is 6, 7, 8. They can't build a wonder, but they can build a cathedral. So they're going to place in the guild hall, move up 1 on the cathedral track, which gets them 1 virtue. And I am going to do a couple of things planning. I'm going to King's Storehouse, and I'm using, first, I get 1 free building, which is this right here. 2 brick, 3 wood, 1 stone is going to allow me to instantly get building, everybody gets building cards and I get a virtue. I don't like that. That's a good one to get rid of to build on the cathedral. We'll see what happens though. Now, at the King's Storehouse, I'm going to use the merchant to spend 3 coins and take a marble. Yeah. All right, their turn. They're doing a workshop action. So they place in the workshop. They're going to be killing the second column. So those all slide over and refill. Remember, I still have 1 space for 1 more something if I decide I'd like to have it. Ooh, that would be nice, but that's far, far, far away. All right, then they're going to place 2 coins in tax, which is looking nice again. And there's 2 people here, so they're getting 2 cards. 1 and 2. All right, my turn. Yeah, before King's Storehouse happens, I'm going to Guild Hall. I'm building a cathedral with my marble. And that building I just got that I said I didn't really care about. I'll go up 1 space there. And I get, ooh, that's nice, 1 virtue and 3 coins. Money is always nice to have. Now, for the next spot, I do need to have 8 stone and wood. So that's going to be a little while, but it might be worth getting in a minute. AI is taking their turn. If there's 3 of me somewhere, there's not. So they're just going to go to the King's Storehouse and get 3 virtue. 1, 2. The top one says kill a debt, but they don't have one. So instead they get 2 coins. 1, 2. My turn. Sure. I'm going to King's Storehouse again, which gets me a free building, which is the courthouse, worth 5 points, gets 4 wood, 2 stone, and 1 marble, lets me flip over a debt. Again, not super worthy to me because I don't have any debts, and I don't plan on getting any, probably. Then, their turn. Oh wait, hold on, I didn't finish my turn. King's Storehouse, I get 2 actions. I'm spending 3 to get a marble, and I'm spending marble to get 1 of each resource and a coin. So I get 1 coin back and 1 of each. Stone, wood, and marble. Sorry, stone, wood, and brick. AI's turn. If they have at least 2 in the guardhouse, they do. So they're going there. They're going to take 3 actions. First action they're going to do is get all of their guys back, which is good because that was their last one anyway. Good for them, I mean. Then they're going to get 1 coin for each of these that they put in, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are going back in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They triggered 1 marble. And then the third action, I don't have anything here, so they can't get anything back. They don't have any debt to flip, so they're simply going to take 1 more card. My turn. Yeah, you know what? I might as well go ahead and build. I'm going to build that museum. Playing to the guild hall. Spending 1 brick, 5 wood. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1 stone. And that's going to score me 4 points at the end of the game plus 1 virtue for every 2 buildings I build. So I need to build at least 1 more building. And looking at what I've got, this one's looking better and better because I will probably have 0 debt. 11 points is a lot. So I want 4 brick, 2 wood, 3 stone and 2 marble. So I need 2 marble, a stone, and 2 brick to get that. So that's what we're going to sort of aim towards next. AI goes next. If they have the majority at the princess, they do not. Then they're going to skip that. They're going to take the princess action just to contribute. And right now, they're going to contribute gold, which actually, I didn't mention this at the beginning, but they've filled this card. This goes up 2 more and 1 on the virtue track, which is a kill debt. They don't have a debt. 2 coins, 1, 2. Because the contribution card is full, that actually is also going to trigger the black market reset. So we place all of those resources out. The brick gets discarded because there is no brick building anymore. Everybody in the black market goes to prison. And this is sad because he just dumped a ton of my guys in there, so I'm actually going to be in trouble right now. Nobody has street urchin or apprentices. Profiteer says all of these guys go to prison. Princess says whoever has the most workers there gets 2 virtue, which happens to be him. He doesn't have any debt. Each one is giving him 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4 there. Then we're going to swap this for the next card, which says Profiteer goes to the town center. And anybody there at the end is going to get an influence, but also go to jail. The princess goes to the mines and says whoever has the most there is going to free 2 workers from the guardhouse automatically. Now, anybody who has 3 or more there gets 1 negative virtue, so we both lose 1 virtue. And whoever has the most, which now is me because of that big dump he gave, gets 1 debt, unfortunately. All right, so I'm going to say this down here on the bottom so you can see it, which is going to be -2 at the end unless I get rid of that debt, which I really, really, really want to do. We can do that by pushing way up on our virtue, which is likely to happen anyway. All right. Also, I just realized when he placed there that last time and dumped in, this was here, which means he had 1 additional worker, which means he would have taken 1 more green card at that time. All right, so my turn. If I am building that card, ooh, but that King Storehouse building is nice too. Anyway, I need a ton of brick, some gold and some marble and some, I need a whole ton of everything, but that's okay. We're going to go there and take 2 brick. AI goes next. Black market, placing in the 3rd location. Gets 3 marble and -1 virtue. 1, 2, 3. They're building a wonder for sure real soon. Actually, I wouldn't mind focusing on that as well, but 6 gold is actually not that hard to do. Yeah, let me start spamming the mines and we'll see what happens. I'm going to go there next and take a gold. Because it's actually 5 gold since there's 1 gold on that card already. All right, next. Town center. If there are 3 of me somewhere, there are not. So they're going to the silversmith and taking 3 coins. 1, 2, 3, which gets them 1 more marble. I'm going back into the mines for 3 + 1, 4 brick. AI's turn. If they have anybody captured, they don't, so they're going again to the silversmith. Wow. And they will get 4 coins. 1, 2, 3, 4, and another marble. I need to take care of that badly. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to be doing that instead. Put 1 in there to capture from the silversmith. I'm running out of people real quick. Their deck is done. They shuffle and go again. And they take their turn. If they can build a wonder, absolutely they can build a wonder. They're going to try and build wood. Wood says they need 6. They have 8, so that works. 7, 8, 9, 10. So they spend 4 of those. And I just realized they never put the 5 from this wonder into the tax stand. I don't remember if they triggered tax stand since then. And if so, then I'm cheating a little bit right now, but I'm putting those 5 back in there right now. Because now they're taking wood, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Puts them back down at 2 with me. They take this wood card, which puts 4 coins into the tax stand. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to pull out that 5. It's very likely that that was before they emptied it last time. So forget that. We'll leave that out. That's fine. They're going to place this now at their second location, which is town center right there. Now, yeah, I need some people back. But I need my money. I'm going to tax stand, losing 2 virtue and getting a ton of money. And they take their turn. Again, trying to go to the guild hall with 2 influence. They can't build anything, so they won't do that. So they're instead going to place at the princess space. And yeah, they're going to place there. They're going to do a contribution, which says right now is wood. So they're going to contribute 1 wood to get 2 influence here. And 1 more influence from this card, which gets them 1 more of their cards. Now, this is a problem because on the next turn, they don't have any meeples left. They're still going to take their turn. They're going to clear off all of the meeples from the board that are not at the black market or the guild hall. Means all of the prison, all of everything here, all of everything from my board. So right now, it doesn't do me any good to capture more of theirs. And I'm down to 1 meeple. So I'm going to go there and simply recover all of mine. Which is a sad turn, but it is what it needed to be. Then they take their turn, which is going to be first bringing back everything of theirs from everywhere. Whoops, not the black market. Everywhere except for the black market and the guild hall, because those are permanent placements. So they all come back, which means all of their actions are weak now, but they have everything back again. And they're placing in the guild hall. With 5 and 5, they could definitely build something. So they're placing in the guild hall, which is going to trigger black market, but let's finish their turn first. They're trying to build wood, but it's built already. So the next one they build is stone. That's got 5. They've got 5 and they've got 5, so they're going to do that. That drops to 0. Those go right there. And they're going to build this one, which places 3 coins in the tax stand. They place this at spot 3, which is the silversmith. Yeah, and I'm not doing great. We'll see what happens, but I need to start building some stuff. All right, so I'm going to... hold on, before we do anything, we triggered black market. They go there. This flips over. I just realized I didn't flip it over last time, so I'm going to flip it over twice this time. We don't have anything that triggers from the black market. I have the guy here at the profiteer, which means I get 1 influence, and they go to jail. This is going to be really not great. Then I have the most at the princess, so I get to pull 2 out of there. That is awesome. Then this wood goes away. This flips over like this. Profiteer goes to the quarry. The princess goes to the forest. He's going to lose a virtue for most at the profiteer. Sorry, anybody at the profiteer. Most princess get 3 building cards, which is crazy. And then nobody has 3, so he doesn't lose virtue, but he has the most, so he will get a debt. All right. My turn. Building is a good idea. King's Storehouse building is a good idea. University building would be a great idea, but I don't have enough for any of that stuff. And I might focus on the cathedral instead. Yes. I need 6 gold to get... I'm going to keep working towards that wonder. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time, but I have 4 people there now. I get 2 gold. Though I might need that for the cathedral. AI takes their turn. Placing in the guild hall if they have 0 cards left here, which they don't. So they're not going to do that. They're going to the workshop. They're clearing the second column here. Those all slide over. Then they place 2 coins in the tax stand. and they take one green card, which is their last card, so now they would trigger that thing next time. My turn. I don't really want to spam the mines, but I'm gonna. I want gold. All right, so I'm going there again. Still just 2 gold, so I'll take 2 more. Their turn. Ha! All right, they're getting me. There's more than 4 there, so they're going to town center, which they have 2 now because of their wonder there. 1 coin goes to the tax stand, and they're going to capture from 2 places, which means mines for sure. And then the order would be princess, mines, king's storehouse. So those 2 from the king's storehouse come off, which is sad, because I did really want that. All right, 4 stone and wood. If I want cathedral, I need 8 stone and wood. I've got 5 gold. I need 6 gold for that wonder, but it's worth it. All right, I'm going... I might regret all of this later, because there's no gold here in the black market. Marble's great, but I don't need any right now. And nobody up here is... Oh, this gets me gold from the king's storehouse. All right, forget it. I'm going here. That'll be my 5th person. 2 in there, 2 out here, and I'm going to do that to get gold from the king's storehouse. All right, AI's turn up. If there's 4 or more in the tax stand, there is. They clear it, and I just realized I made a huge mistake earlier. When they clear from the tax stand, in addition to losing 2 of this, they should also gain all of this money, and I didn't do that last time. So again, I don't know if that 5 that was supposed to be there from their wonder would have been mine or theirs, but in either case, we'll figure it out when I edit the video, and I'll make comments as necessary. They should probably have 1 or 2 more marble, but anyway, we'll talk about that later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 coins comes off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gets them 1 more marble. So my turn. Yeah, I'm going to go to King's Storehouse and spend a 2 to get a gold. And remembering when I'm at the King's Storehouse, I also get a free building card. Everybody gets a virtue, but I do too. 9 points is good. Resources aren't bad. We'll hold on and see, but I don't think so. They place again, black market. 3rd spot. They get 3 marble and lose 1 virtue. My turn. I'm getting low on people because they got a ton of stuff captured. We'll figure that out in a minute. I want to go to build. And I want to build a wonder. I got to spend, oh, just 5. That's an extra gold. Cool. 5 gold, which means I didn't need that king storage action, but I'll use it later. I get to place that wonder. I think I'm going to aim for the king's storehouse because we've been using that a lot. And I get 2 virtue for building that. And I have to pay 2 coins to there and 4. I didn't have 4 influence yet. Hold on. I didn't have a 4th influence yet, which is a problem. All right, let's say that that's going to be the next thing I do, and we'll see what they do first. If it doesn't affect anything, then what I'm going to say is on that turn I placed in the quarry and got my influence, but let me see what they do first. Less than or equal to 5, they do. All right, that's fine. That means they place to the princess, they make a contribution. That goes up by 2. They're contributing a marble. So they also get their reward, which gets them 1 virtue. Now we'll say on the previous turn, so I don't get a turn this turn, I played there, I got 1 stone, and because I played where the profiteer was, I got 1 of those, and we spent those this turn to build the wonder. That makes sense. Those should all have slid over. AI goes next. Building in the guild hall. They don't have enough to build a wonder, so they're going to do cathedral track. This goes up 1. All right, so my turn. I am going to go to the King's Storehouse, which gets me an extra one there. Is 3 actions. I'm going to spend 3 coins to get a marble. Hold on, let me undo that. All right, so then it is my turn. He's got a lot of guys that I need to get back. And yeah, I don't really want to deal with any of that stuff. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to spend 5, 2 to the tax stand, and 3 to the supply to get all my guys back. I wish I had more money because then I could flip this debt as well, but I only have 2 and I need 6 to do that, so that's not going to happen this turn. All right, AI takes their turn. If they have any captured the guardhouse, they don't. They go to the silversmith, which gets 1, 2, so they get 3 coins. 1, 2, 3 gets a marble. I need money and I need resources badly. Tax stand doesn't get me a whole lot of money. They don't have a whole lot of stuff to capture, so I'm just going to start spamming the silversmith for money. 2 coins. And I just realized now that I never took advantage of my ability. I haven't been paying too much attention. Every time I built, I should have gotten an influence. So I did 3 there, 1, 2 there. So I should have 5 more influence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 more building card. Which would have been true because if I had pushed that 5 there, I would have crossed that threshold. So we'll say that that's fair. This building is going to get me 1 virtue for every captured one I have at the end of the game. But again, I'm not really pushing for that. We'll see what happens, but that should be fine for right now. Their turn. They're going to the town center. If there's 3 of me somewhere, there's not. So they'll go to the King's Storehouse, and they get 1 virtue. I need more money. Back to the silversmith, 3 more coins. Their turn. If they have no cards and they can go up on the cathedral, they will. So they're going into the guild house, which is going to trigger black market in a minute. They go up 1 more, which gets them 1 virtue. And then black market triggers. So they go back to jail. This flips over. Nothing special triggering. Profiteer, I have 1 there. So I'm going to lose a virtue and go to jail. Princess, he's winning, so he gets 3 buildings. He doesn't have any, so this is just going to slide 1, 2, 3, getting a marble. Contributions get moved over there. This flips over. He's going to the forest. She's going to the quarry. They've just swapped spots. That's fine. There is nothing there with 3 or more, so nobody gets a negative virtue, but he has more than me, so he takes a debt. My turn. I need money. I'm going back to silversmith. I'm getting 4 coins. Let's see. If I build both of those, that's 13 points plus whatever it gets me. But I would love to build this university, but I don't think I'll ever have the resources I need to do that. Yeah, no. I'm going to aim on maxing cathedral points. Yeah. Let's see what happens. All right, his turn. Workshop. Going to remove those 2 cards there. Everything slides over. He places 2 coins in a tax stand, which is looking nice. And then 2 green cards, which just means this slides twice because there aren't any cards left for him to get. My turn. I'm getting low on things again, but we're getting close to the end. I need gold and marble for the cathedral. I'm going to King's Storehouse. I'm going to spend 3. I get 3 actions, 2 for me and that. I'm going to spend 3 and 3 to get 2 marble. And then 2. No, hold on. Then trade in 1 marble to get a wood, a stone, a brick, and a coin. Their turn. Guildhall if they can. They need 3. They only have 2, so they can't. They're going to King's Storehouse, which gets them 2 virtue. 1. Second one kills a debt. My turn, back to King's Storehouse. I get 4 actions. I want to spend 2 to get a gold. 3 to get a marble. I have 7. Hold on. Both times I go to King's Storehouse, I should get more building cards. Ooh, points per building would have been nice if I had been building more. Virtue per 2 gold. Yeah, that's not happening. All right, so that's that. I get 1 more action there. I get 1 more marble, but not right now because I have the money. I'm just going to spend 2 brick to go up 1 on virtue. His turn. 2 or more in the guardhouse, he does. So he's going to the guardhouse, taking a single action, which is simply just removing those 2. I need people back, but not really. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only have 7. Yeah, I'm going to the quarry to get a stone. I don't think there's any way I'm winning this, but we're going to push and see what happens. AI goes next to the guild hall if they can. Build a wonder, which is not going to happen. So they are going to go, damn it, they're going to go up the cathedral track, which blocks me from my final plan, which gets them 1 on the virtue, which is going to kill their other debt card. Yeah, that was horrible. Darn. All right. Then let's see what else we can build. 4 brick, 2 wood, 3 stone, and ooh. But then I have to kill stuff. All right, I'm going to go to the guardhouse. I don't have any money, though. I don't know how many turns I'm going to have left, but I don't like this right now. I'm out of people. Yeah, that King's Storehouse flood was a mistake because I need to get rid of this debt. 1, 2, 3, 4 virtue. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I need money. The only way I'm going to do that is to get... no, but that'll trigger the game end. But that's fine. All right, I'm going to the cathedral. This is not going to be a great end. I'm going to the cathedral. I'm going to spend... No, because I want that building. And I don't get point money unless I get that. Do I need marble? I don't need marble. I need 2 marble for the university. Yep, that's not going to work. All right, I'm going to the tax stand and we're going to cross our fingers. I lose 2 virtue. I get lots of money. They take their turn. Town center, if there's 4, there's not. So they do it anyway. They go to town center for this. There's nothing there for them to reclaim. 1 coin into tax. They're going to capture 2 sets of my guys, which are going to come from the King's Storehouse and the silversmith. All right. Darn it. Then I'm out of people. Well, I'm going to go here to trigger that. I need to take him back and spend 3 to here and 3 to the supply to flip my debt, which gets me 1 virtue. AI goes, if there's more than 3 of me, there is. They're going to town center again, paying 1 coin. It's a tax, capturing 3 sets, so that's 1, 2, and 3. Either quarry or workshop is coming from quarry first. 3. Now, I have 1 person left which is a shame because I can only do one action because I don't have any money. And all I can do on a turn with no workers is bring one back home, but that's too bad. All right, I'm gonna play because I have to. Into the guild hall, ending the game. There we go. I play the university, which gets me 1 virtue. I spend 4 brick, 2 wood, 3 stone, and 2 marble to build that. And I definitely have 1 of each symbol, so that's fine. And that triggers the end of the game. So the AI gets 1 more turn. And thankfully, they're not going to the guardhouse. That would have been horrible. If they can build at the guild hall. 2. Hold on. I just built. So I get 1 more influence there. They only have 2 influence. They need 3 for the marble, so they're not doing that. So they will go to the cathedral. They can't do that either. So they're not going to the guild hall. They're simply going to place at the princess, donate stone to get 2 influence. My turn, I can't do anything except bring this guy home. End of the game is triggered. I have more influence than they do, so I get 4 gold. I get 1 virtue for every 2 buildings. I only have 3, so I only get 1 virtue. And that is that. So now we move into scoring. Now for scoring, Garphill has a really great app for scoring, so I'm going to use that. We're going to choose Architects, Works of Wonder with the solo variant. I am using Zesiro against the AI. For buildings, I've got 11 and 4 is 15, and 12 is 27. Plus I get 2 if I don't have any active debts, and I don't, so that's plus 2. So 12 and 15 and 12 is 27, 28, 29 for me. The AI got 3 wonders, 9, 10, 11. So that's 21 plus 9 is 30 for the AI. Next, on the cathedral, I get 7 points. The AI gets 20 points. On the virtue track, I get 2. The AI gets 7. Unpaid debts, I have none, he has none. Gold and marble, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. AI also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. Per silver, I only have 1, so nothing. Workers in prison are nothing for either one of us. Final score, I was pretty much destroyed, 63 to 44. At this point, I do like to take a look at the components. Now, this is just really a review of the expansion and not of the game itself, so I'm really only going to take a look at the expansion content, but for most of the expansion content, it's more cards, it's more player boards, all of which I really, really, really love. I do love that the player boards are double-sided, giving you the variable setup or the same setup. Now for the new AI, it does recommend that you use the variable setup, and I agree completely, and we'll talk more about that in the review as to why. The new Wonder cards, just more of art from Dmicho, and I love his artwork, so yay, very yay. The AI deck we'll talk more about in the actual review, but as far as the icons go, it's very, very easy to understand. If this, then this, otherwise that. Super, super easy to flow through. It does take 1 or 2 games to understand all the symbols, but once you do, they're very, very, very intuitive. Same thing with these new cards here. Very clear what everything means on here, and also very understandable what these things are going to do when they trigger. The only other things left are wooden pieces. We've got the 5 Wonder meeples, I guess you can call them, big chunky wonders, and the 2 meeples representing the princess and the profiteer. If you've seen any of my videos where there were wooden components involved, you know I'm a huge fan of chunky wooden bits. So to have these 5 wooden buildings and these 2 extra overlarge meeple pieces is very nice for me. The last thing here is just this board add-on. It's functional. It's the same size as the main board. It is a little bit annoying that you got to tack something onto the side, but it fits perfectly. It works perfectly. It gives you some nice sort of player references about how to use influence, which clearly I should have been doing more of because I could have been doing things with influence rather than spending money. But no one's ever said I'm great at this game. And again, we'll talk more about that when we get into my final thoughts on the game. As for the insert, there isn't really an insert. It comes with a small cardboard insert for the expansion, which is great if you put the expansion back in its own box. I always like to, as much as possible, squeeze everything into a single box. I can't really easily show this to you right now because everything is out on the table, but I will say I've got tons of promo stuff. You can see here I've got lots of player boards. So they do take up quite a bit of space, and unfortunately with both expansions and all of these promos, not everything is going to fit in the base box. So what I've been doing is I keep the board and the overlay and the extra board, all the board pieces and the rules go in this small skinny box of the expansion, and all of the everything else. So player boards, all of the meeples, all of the cards, all of the coins, everything else fits in the base box. So just with those 2 boxes I can fit everything. It's not a big problem. However, there is a big box that has been released that will fit everything very easily, and I guarantee so long as I keep playing this game, it's very likely that I will upgrade to the big box. So with all that being said, meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. I will apologize here for all of the small mistakes that I did make through the playthrough, and I do want to promise you that while it might look like the game has a lot to manage and pay attention to playing, I guarantee you that I don't really struggle with the rules as much as I did in this playthrough, but it is often a lot to sort of manage in my head while I'm talking through my strategy and working through each turn of the game, that I often do overlook things or forget things that I've done in the past. So I do apologize for that, but I don't think that it changes sort of how the video shows the way that the game works and how the game plays. So I think you should still have gotten a good idea for the gameplay. So I hope that the video still stands as is. With all that being said, let's talk about what I think or how I feel about this game. Architects of the West Kingdom is an interesting one for me because this is actually the first physical game from Garphill Games that I've ever played. I played a few times Raiders on the app version of the game, Raiders of the North Sea, using the app version of the game, and I really enjoyed that. So then when I went to a game cafe one day, I saw Architects of the West Kingdom on the shelf, had some free time, and decided to pull it down to try out the solo mode. I did play through twice at the game cafe that day, and unfortunately the game didn't really do that much for me, and let me explain why. For the base game of Architects of the West Kingdom, the first problem for me is it felt sort of like a normal worker placement game with not all that much going on, aside from the 2 twists in the game. And the first twist is, as you place at a location, the more meeples or the more workers you place at that location, the better the action that you're getting. And I thought that was kind of interesting. But in this solo game, I didn't really feel much of this sort of build-up or much of the sort of speciality of that twist on worker placement. It was interesting, but it wasn't anything special. And then on top of that, the other twist to the game is the ability to capture other players' workers and send them off to the prisons at the guardhouse. And that whole idea of taking actions at the black market and getting sent to prison, and then having your workers at the prison sort of giving you these debt cards and scoring you negative points. And for me, I've never really been a huge fan of negative points, of this sort of risk and reward kind of system in a game where I feel like I need to hurt myself and able to maybe potentially do better later in the game. I tend to stay away from that kind of risk in games. And so that kind of mechanism in a game doesn't usually excite me. So I sort of came away from that game thinking, well, Raiders of the North Sea was fun, but I didn't really enjoy Architects all that much. Garphill Games maybe isn't for me. Well, recently I started getting back into Garphill Games after playing Viscounts and really enjoying Viscounts. I then played Hadrian's Wall, really enjoyed it. I then played Paladins, I really enjoyed it. So I've been really getting back into all of these Garphill games. And I decided to take another shot at Architects. And I played it again, and well, I enjoyed it more than I did the first time, but I didn't have much of a different experience than I did that first time. And the more I thought about it, it also was sort of the AI system in that game was not the best AI system. And I think this might have been, if I'm not mistaken, the very first AI that was designed for one of these Garphill games. And it kind of shows, right? The AI is fairly random. You kind of know what it could be doing, but it doesn't really make decisions based on anything it's done in the past. It's sort of flip over a card and see what happens. So it just didn't do all that much for me. Now, the first expansion, Age of Artisans, came out. This is not a review of that. I haven't done a review of that. I might if I get a chance. But the point is, Age of Artisans added these cards that sort of added twists or added the ability to add new abilities and new scoring conditions onto cards that you already had. And what that did, for me at least, is it sort of started focusing my strategies and sort of started focusing my tactics. Because one of the big issues I've always had with Architects of the West Kingdom is I just didn't know what to do. And that's why I didn't really like it. I mean, I was placing things down to get resources and hopefully getting buildings to build, or hopefully moving up the cathedral track. And I just never really had a clear goal in mind. And with these cards in Age of Artisans, it sort of focused that because it gave me specific abilities. And it gave me something to sort of direct my tactic or strategic play in the game. And it's worth mentioning that also in the original solo mode of this game, you couldn't play with the variable player power sides of the boards, of the player character boards, because that sort of skewed the scoring in the solo game. So that also took away part of that sort of push to move in a certain direction in the game. So I had all of these little issues with the game, and then I heard in this newest expansion that they were releasing a new solo mode. And I should say that in Viscounts, the most recent game that came out before this that had a solo mode from Garphill Games, I really, really enjoyed what they did with the solo. It felt a lot more alive. It felt a lot more like a player that I was playing against. And what I really loved is that inside that game, they came with multiple different AI sort of personalities or different setups and different strategies that the AI would take during the game. And I heard that now in Works of Wonder, that was going to be happening here as well. So I'm pleased to say that having played Works of Wonder now, the solo mode in this game has made things way better for the game. First off, you do get 6 different personalities. They all do play differently. The sort of strategies and the things that they are trying to do will change. Might focus on buildings, might focus on the cathedral, might focus on collecting resources or collecting money to spin through that track and get more marble. Might focus, as the one that you saw me play, on capturing my people as much as possible and sending them off to prison. So each of the AI that you're playing again, and again there are 6 of them in the box, each of the AI that you play against is going to play very differently. But on top of that, now the AI's strategy deck, or that scheme deck, has, as you saw at the top corner, that sort of if-then statement. If this, then this, otherwise this, right? So now the AI is taking actions based on the state of the board, based on the state of things that the AI has done in previous turns, based on the things that I have done in previous turns. I can predict what they might do based on what's happening on the board and make decisions or make changes based on what they might do to prevent them from doing it or to make them focus on other things so that I don't get hit in specific ways. And it makes the game a whole lot more alive and interactive, as if I was playing against another player. And that already makes this game feel so much better. So the AI system in this is definitely worth, as a solo gamer, if you already enjoyed this game, even in the slightest bit, having this new AI is wonderful and absolutely worth owning this expansion just for the AI. In addition, because the AI has a personality now, I'm now allowed to use the variable side of the player board, which means I've got the first game, the expansion, all of the promo characters, and I've got now the characters from this expansion. So I've got 3 characters for each of the, I believe, 5 colors in the game. So I've got 15 different characters that I can play with. And each of those has different starting setup and different special abilities. So now I've got a ton of variability in the game that I'm playing. Plus I can play against 6 different AI. So the combination of all the different characters I can try, all the different characters I can play against as AI, adds a ton of variability, adds a ton of different sort of tweaks to the game that pushes my strategy or pushes my tactics in different ways. And it really brings a ton of new life to this game. So I am extremely happy with that. But let's talk about the game itself, the mechanisms itself, what's added to this game. The first things it adds is those wonder cards, right? The wonders are just different buildings that you're competing with your opponent to build at the same time. It does generally take a whole lot of resources. They take a big chunk of resources, all of the same kind, in order to build, but they also introduce that influence track. And you see in my playthrough, I didn't play with the influence track very well because it's still fairly new to me and I'm still trying to figure out how best to use it, because you do want it to get high so you get more building cards. You do want it to get high so you can use it to spend to buy those or to build those wonder cards. But at the same time, you could be using that influence to avoid paying money. You could be using that influence to avoid losing virtue. You could be using that influence to avoid using gold or marble for certain things. So there's a whole lot of usage there that I still haven't figured out best how to make use of. But it's a really cool additional piece to the game that you can have that lets you sort of tweak things in slightly different ways. Because if you can get some influence, it'll let you take some other things without having to worry about collecting a ton of money or collecting a ton of gold or marble, which are things that are generally harder to get in the game. Well, now you can do something else to do those things. So it gives you some sort of new pathways to do old things, if that makes sense. But also, once you've built those wonder cards, that wonder goes out on the board, and now you get an additional meeple at that location, or another way to drive up that influence track. So this is a really cool new twist on the game that doesn't really add a whole lot of complexity or difficulty or change to the game. It just sort of gives you a new pathway to score points, to improve the abilities at each location on the board, and then also this influence track that lets you get to old things or get to previous mechanisms in a different way, which is pretty cool to have. The other thing that's added here is the Princess and the Profiteer, which is cool because now it's giving two of the locations sort of every black market reset. Two of those locations are getting some kind of speciality or special thing that happens there. The Profiteer is going to help you by pushing up the influence every time you go there. So it's giving you sort of this benefit by going there. But generally, if you have the most things there, you get hit hard when the black market reset happens because all of those people get sent off to prison. So you're sort of getting a little bit of stuff moving forward, but then if you don't take your workers back from there, you're going to get hit by sending them all to prison. So you have to think about, do I let them all go to prison and then bring them all back from prison? Do I sort of capture my own workers to prevent that from happening before the black market reset happens? And that's a cool little extra twist to the game. But then the Princess is even cooler because the Princess is allowing you to sort of have this area majority kind of piece added to the game now. And that area majority, every time the black market reset happens, whoever has the most at that location is going to get stuff. So maybe you start capturing other people's workers away from there to get the rewards of the Princess. Maybe you start piling your own workers in there to get the rewards from the Princess. I know one of the player characters that comes with the expansion actually counts the Princess meeple as an additional meeple of your color when you take that action, which makes that space even more exciting. Plus, when you take the action there, you get to place a resource, if you've got one, onto the contribution card, which then spills over into the wonder cards, but also gives you influence right away for making that contribution and potentially also virtue or a reward card. So this just adding, without adding a ton of complexity to the game, adding all these other teeny tiny ways to sort of tweak the same things that are already going there, adding more ways to give you this influence that then also allows you to tweak pathways and decisions within the game elsewhere. And it doesn't really change the game dramatically in any way. It just sort of changes the way that you interact with the mechanisms that are already there and sort of allow for new pathways to sort of come at the same problem with different strategies or different tactics to get to that same end goal. And I really like that about this. It doesn't break the game. It doesn't change the game. It just improves your interaction with the game, if that makes sense. Now, that said, comparing the two expansions, if I was not a solo player of the two expansions, I do think that I prefer the Age of Artisans expansion, the first expansion, more as far as mechanisms are concerned. And that's because, as I mentioned before, the Age of Artisans brings these cards that sort of add abilities to the cards that you're already collecting, right? It's going to give extra points and sort of instant trigger rewards for cards that you add to your buildings. And it's also going to give you extra abilities for the assistant cards that you're recruiting as well, which means that if my assistants have abilities and I'm adding extra abilities, it really helps me to focus my strategy. It really helps me to sort of start thinking about what should I be working on at any given time. And this game for me has always been one that there are so many decisions, I don't know what to do at any given time. So the more focus I have and the more way that I have to sort of build this engine to start driving towards a certain direction, the better for my kind of style of play for this game. So the Age of Artisans expansion really does that for me, and I appreciate it for that. That said, the solo mode in Works of Wonder for a solo player who enjoys this game is pretty much required, not required, but really definitely worth looking into, checking out, trying. Now you do have to use the Wonders expansion in order to use that new solo AI, but again, it doesn't really make the game any more difficult. It doesn't really change the game much in any way. It just sort of adds interactivity to the game. And I think it's very much worth it. So if you're only going to get one expansion as a non-solo player, maybe Age of Artisans. If you're only going to get one solo expansion, definitely this one, because the solo AI is very well worth it. But honestly, realistically, the best way for me to play the game, and from now on the only way that I will play the game, is with the AI and then of course the new expansion, because they go together, plus the Age of Artisans. I don't think that I will ever play this game without both of the expansions included in there, simply because the new solo AI from Works of Wonder is great. The new sort of interactivity from the new expansion is good enough to play with, and you have to anyway with the AI. And those extra cards from Age of Artisans that helps me focus my strategy into a certain pathway each time I play and sort of build an engine that works best with the character that I've selected for any given play definitely makes it worth it. So I think the full experience of this game, especially as a solo player, is the right way to get into it. And I strongly recommend checking out this expansion. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.